Hey guys, it's Steph here again today, and today I am back with my March wrap-up and my April to be read. So in March, I only read 6 books, which is better than I used to read, but it's not as good as I wanted to read. So I had a total of 2 5 stars, 3 4 stars, and 1 3 star. I don't know how many pages I read, but, I can give you kind of an idea, probably. So this book was that many. I probably read about 10,000 pages, because 2 of my books were, or not 10,000, why did I say 10,000? Wow. Like 1,000 pages, because I read kind of really short books, and one of them was an audiobook, so I don't really know how many pages that was, so we'll just go with 1,000 pages. That sounds about right. So the first book I read was All Systems Red, by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries, which you will see in my April TBR, that I'm going to read the next 2 books of this series. I gave this book 4 stars. It is very well written, but it's just not the type of stories that I like to read. It is about a robot that was made to help take care of people, and it's in this world that's ran by the government that has these everything's robots, everything's spaceships and things like that. So it's just not something I'm really into, but I read it. It's 4 stars. It was really good. It's a very short book, so if you guys want to catch it, it's a really good book. It's just not my type of reading. Next up, I read Roseblood, which I actually read on my Kindle from the library, so that's the book cover. I gave this 5 stars. It was absolutely amazing. It was like a take on The Phantom of the Opera, which is my absolute all-time favorite musical in the world. It was very well written. It was so descriptive. It captured me from the very first chapter that they were going to this new school that was where the old Phantom was. So it's just it just drew you in right from the beginning. It's definitely a really good read, so I definitely recommend you guys check it out. Then next up, I have some exciting news. I actually read my book, which is right here. It is called In Love with My Best Friend. I wrote a short story. It was based on a true story from a friend of mine. So pretty much what it is, it's a story, an LGBTQ short story, about a girl that falls in love with her best friend, and she finally comes out of the closet to her best friend, and finds out that her best friend has felt the same about her from the beginning, but then the universe has other things in mind for them, which I don't want to give you too much information. It is out on Kindle as well as paperback. I will leave both links in the description. Definitely check it out. Thank you guys so much ahead of time for doing it. Next up, I read 50 Shades of Alice in Wonderland, which was a pretty weird book. It is kind of a erotic take on Alice in Wonderland. So it's definitely, you kind of have to be in the mood to read smutty books to read that, but it was very well written, and it was a really good story to read. So if you like smutty books and things like that, I would definitely read it. Next, I listened to The Rosie Project by Graeme Simsion, I'm guessing. I don't know. So this was part of one of the TBRs that I've had for literally forever. I decided to finally listen to it. It was only about 11 hours of an ebook. I listened to it in about 2 days. It was just a really good book. I wasn't too fond of the the reader that read the audiobook, but it was okay. It was enjoyable. And last but not least, I read Caleb's Window by John Seifring. So I actually got this book from the publisher. It's about it's a story about this guy's life, and pretty much what it is it's him. It's really hard to explain. It's him writing the memoir of his life, but the end of the book ends with him writing the memoir of his life, if that makes sense. So it just tells you about his life And then you find out at the end that it's like his memoir that he just wrote, that he's starting to write. It's really good. It's not a super long book. I read it on ebook. I definitely recommend it. So next up, we're just going to get into my TBR for April. So let's start with the physical books that I have, and then I apologize. We will move on to excuse me. We'll move on to my ebooks. So first of all, I'm going to read the next 2 books in the Murderbot series, which is Artificial Condition and Protocol Rogue. I will read Exit Strategy as well, but I do not have that book physically from the library, so I will read it on my Nook or my Kindle whenever I get it. So those are the first 3 books of my TBR. Next up, I'm going to read Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sawadi. I don't know. I butcher those kind of names. But this is just like a Middle Eastern take on Frankenstein. I showed you guys this book in my library book haul. I'm just really excited to read it because I love anything that has to do with Frankenstein. It's not a super long book. So I'm just really excited to read it. Next up, I'm going to read The Familiars by Stacey Hill, which I don't know a lot about, but I've heard quite a lot of things from it and about it. So let me read you what it says in the cover just a little bit. It says, 1612, Pendle Hill, England. Young Fleetwood Shuttleworth, mistress of Gonthorpe Hall, who knows, is with child. Anxious to provide her husband with an heir, she discovers a hidden letter from her physician that warns she will not survive the pregnancy. Distraught, Fleetwood wanders the grounds where she meets a local midwife named Alice, who promises she can deliver a healthy baby, but Alice soon stands accused of witchcraft. Frenzy sweeps the countryside where even woodland creatures, the familiars, are suspects. So it just sounds like a really awesome book. It's definitely up my alley. I love reading books about witches and the familiars and the witch trials and things like that. So this is definitely going to be a good book to read. Next, oh goodness. Things are just falling everywhere. So for the next up, this is actually going to be a take on some of my goals from this year. I don't know if you guys have seen my video about my reading goals for this year, but one of my reading goals this year was to read more anthologies as well as read more books outside of my normal reading. So I found this book for 99 cents. It's called Spring Fling. It's a romance anthology, which I don't read romance very much. So this is knocking out 2 of my goals for this year. So I'm definitely going to start reading this. I don't know if I'll get through the entire book because it is a pretty long book, but I will definitely try my best to get through it. And next up, I'm going to be reading this book here, which I don't know a lot about, but it is a pretty long book, so I may have to read it between 2 months. This is F. I Need You by Lena Hopkins. I absolutely love this cover. It's gorgeous. But again, this is another romance, and I'm just trying to read outside of my normal reading habits, and it's quite scary. I'm kind of not looking forward to it. Next up, I'm going to be reading another anthology because why not? Like, anthologies are literally the best. So I've decided to read Once Upon a Kiss, which is 17 fairy tales. Let me get back to the beginning. It's 17 romantic fairy tales. Again, I'm trying to stick with romance this time because I never read romance, but Gabby kind of got me into romance and contemporary and things like that. So I'm just kind of excited to start reading it. But this is the first book of the series, and then I'm also going to attempt to start reading the second book in the series, which is oh my goodness, Once Upon a Curse, which is 17 dark fairy tales. And this is what the book cover looks like. So, that is my to be read for April. I hope you guys are having a wonderful April so far. Can you guys believe it's April? But yeah, if you guys follow me on Instagram, I am doing a planner challenge for April and a journal challenge for April. So definitely take a chance to, if you guys get a chance to go and follow those two Instagrams and do those with me. I would love to see everybody's take on everything. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!